Hey, this is Andy Krieger, your garden helper. Today we're going to start a little project that we're going to call From Grass to Grocery. Okay, the first step when we're developing a brand new garden space for this homeowner is to decide where you want to actually have the garden. Couple rules of thumb. The first thing is you want to make sure it has easy access for the homeowners. If your garden's way away, you don't weed it quite as often, you don't pay as much attention. The second major thing that you want to take a little consideration on is where you place the garden when it comes to sunlight or overhead wires, etc. You want to make sure that that garden gets as much sun as possible throughout the day. When we're going from grass to garden, one of the very first things we want to do is cut out our space. There's a couple ways to do that. You can use a weed killer to go ahead and spray your area. The weeds will die down, your grass will die down, and it'll leave kind of an imprint or an outline of what your garden's going to be. Another way to do it is to use a piece of equipment. We've gone ahead and rented it's called a load-all, and the bucket width is just about perfect for cutting our grass out. What we're going to do is go ahead and just slick off the area that we want to have as our garden, and it's going to be real quick and real easy, well worth the rental investment. As you can see, he's just taking a little bit of a layer off. Ground's a little tougher than we had anticipated, but it'll make short work of this little job. Okay, now that we've got the garden outlined, we're going to go ahead and fill it back in and get on the rototiller. And brought in a bucket load of just good old composted plants and things from the compost bin. That's going to be food and fuel for the future. The toughest part of today's project is using the rototiller, going over and over and over, working all that good matter ground up and working it back into that beautiful black gold soil. Okay, it's been 4 days now since we cut out our garden, composted it in, got it all ready to go. Now comes the fun part. I'm sitting here with all of my friends, okay? The first question everybody always asks me when putting together a garden, what do they plant? My answer is, plant what you want to plant. I love making tomato juice. I love making salsa. I also love fresh herbs and fresh tomatoes. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I plant those items. There's things that I'm not interested in, carrots, I'm not interested in peas. But boy, if you are, make sure those do go into your garden recipe. Things that I look for when it comes to good quality plants. I like a nice, good, strong plant. This is a tomato plant. I don't like tall, spindly ones. We'll show you how to plant that if it does get a little bit taller. But I like a good, stocky plant. I also like a lot of smaller. You'll see a lot of garden center plants get way overgrown, very tall. I like very short and stocky ones. I'm not afraid what it looks like on top. What I want to find out is what it looks like on bottom. I've got great root structure. That's what I want. I want to make sure that my peppers are all ready to go underneath, because that's the part that they're going to feed from. The last thing that I think every garden probably needs, besides the things that you want, there are 3 basic herbs that I believe almost any garden should have, any outdoor vegetable garden should have. I love to pickle, so I make sure that I always have dill. Oregano is amazing because you can use it fresh, you can use it cooked, but it comes back year after year after year. Next year this will be 3 times the size. The year after that it'll double in size again. Oregano is a mainstay of any vegetable garden. The last herb that I believe is essential to any vegetable garden is basil. I love sweet basil. You want to go ahead and plant it when it gets warmer. You can't plant it early when it's cold. It'll just stay there. And sometimes you might frost it off. It loves warm temperatures. So make sure you pick up basil also. One of the general rules of thumb when it comes to planting tremendous tomato plants is to plant it deeper. The deeper you plant it, the better off and more stable that plant will be during the season. You trim off all the bottom leaves like I've done here, pop it out of its pot, and go deep as you possibly can, and you backfill around it. You want that nice and stable, just absolutely nice and stable. Some of the grass left over, which will turn into mulch now from when we rototilled, put that around there because that's going to hold moisture. That is an absolutely perfect tomato plant. Okay, rule number 2 to tremendous tomato plants is always plant 2 of them. Tomatoes need to cross-pollinate just like apples do, okay? And if you plant 1, you will get a little bit of fruit. If you plant 2, you will get an abundance of wonderful, great, juicy red tomatoes. I absolutely love salsa, okay? As a lot of people do. It happens to be the #1 condiment, and I certainly do my part to help that out. What I always do is I plant 2 types of peppers. I always plant a green pepper and then a hot pepper. My favorite here happens to be serrano. It is a wonderful pepper, great flavor, a little bit of heat, but it is wonderful for cooking. It's wonderful fresh. It is my favorite hot pepper. This is a good green one. It's called, this is Big Bertha, nice large bell type. You can eat it fresh, you can eat it cooked. Once again, just a favorite of mine. It doesn't matter what you plant, as long as you get something in there that you enjoy. Okay, the last thing I like to plant is I do enjoy a good fall crop of acorn squash. These are nice, short and tight, ready to be planted. A lot of squashes, a lot of pumpkins, watermelons, you want to go ahead and plant them once again in pairs or if not 3 at a time, okay? Because they love to cross-pollinate, and the more bees you have, the more blooms you have, the more fruit you're going to have in the long run. So when you do plant your vine crops, most of the time in a pot they're going to come in groups of 3 or so. I'll separate them out, tear the roots up a little bit, and you go ahead and put these right into the ground in the shape of a triangle. Dig a little bit of a hole, backfill it around. Once again, you disturb the roots a little bit. That isn't that big of an issue because you want, though they'll, everywhere it breaks, it'll go ahead and feed off of. I'm going to lay that one sideways and put him in. Back up a little bit and do my 3rd one. Now as the season progresses, these will actually grow together, but it'll produce a whole lot of acorn squash in the long run because of the cross-pollination and the number of plants. One thing that I love to do, okay, all of your garden plants, everything you buy from a garden center in a pot should have a label with it. I highly recommended buying plants with labels. The reason is once you're done planting, you can put that right up next to it, one of the plants, and as the season goes on, it'll canopy over, but you will always have that information there for future use. If a plant does really well, you'll know what plant that is, and if it doesn't succeed for you, you will also know what that is and know not to plant again. So labels are very important pieces of information. There's been a little bit of investment here in the last week, okay? A little bit of time and a little bit of money. But the neat thing about gardening is with about a $60 investment in your garden center in vegetables, you will return about $650 worth of produce. At a retail level, it is hugely important for your bottom line to get out there and garden. Because remember, it saves you money, but also when you grow it, you know it.